New caps could limit how much parents can borrow for a child's education. Up next, what the expert says to watch for and how families may need to adjust. Buying a home in 2026 may take more than luck. It could take some real preparation. Next, the 3 things you need to focus on now. And we're reaching the peak of March Madness. But don't let the excitement at the potential of winning cloud your judgment as scammers look to score big with basketball bettors. Welcome to the Watchdog, where we protect consumers, share warnings and alerts, and help you save money. I'm Jen Pachano. Now, March Madness is top of mind for basketball fans, bettors, and office pool participants alike. About now, there are millions of dollars at stake, and we know by now, scammers go where the money is. The experts at TrustedSec, a local company that helps protect you from cyber scams, says scams are pretty consistent throughout the year, but they just change the pretext. So scam sports handicappers are out there now offering fake sure things and incredible odds. Bracket pool phishing involves scammers replicating legit wagering websites.
Don't click on things that you receive necessarily. So if you get a text or you get an email and it's, advertising some kind of bracket or some kind of service, don't necessarily just click that link. Go to your browser and type in the known site.
Alex Hammerstone with TrustedSec says other scammers are stealing identities and placing bets using victims' information and money. So you're on the hook for losses, and they siphon off any winnings. They get in because gamblers use the same password across different websites, and they're compromised.
If hackers know the username and password for just some random site, whatever it is, they can systematically try that on every banking site and every email site and everything else, the same combination, and they'll get into a lot of it, which kind of leads us to the other piece, which is multi-factor authentication. So just about every site these days that deals with any kind of financial or personal information is going to offer 2-factor authentication. That can be something as simple as the code you receive on your phone that you have to enter as well, or an authenticator app or something like that. So take advantage of that wherever it's offered.
Scammers will always show their cards by pushing a sense of urgency and offer outrageous payouts much larger than other legal sites. If you're placing bets, Hammerstone says don't use your debit card. Well, it's not just basketball season, it's tax season too. And those scammers are utilizing new AI tools as a way to weasel in and attempt to steal your refund and your personal information. And these criminals are using deep fake audio and phone calls and voicemails to mirror the authority of the IRS and create that false sense of urgency that's a red flag for every scam. And this year, the discontinuation of IRS Direct File is providing the perfect cover for scammers to offer new but fake AI-assisted filing tools.
Whenever a legit filing option changes or disappears, scammers will use that confusion as kind of cover to make things easier for them. It's just something that is top of mind for you, the consumer, because you might have used it last year, and now that attackers are opportunistic. They're going to see things happening in the news and they're going to take full advantage of that. So in short, it's a program that was available last year. It's not available this year. And so scammers are using that to their advantage.
The FBI has a warning for those of you still using an old router in your home. They say you're putting yourself at risk for a cyber attack. The issue is with devices made in the late 2000s or early 2010s because those are no longer supported by their manufacturers. So it can't get software updates or security patches, and that makes them attractive to cyber criminals because they're easy to hijack, so to speak, at that point. So the FBI has released a list of a dozen outdated internet routers at most risk now. 11 of them are models of the Linksys brand. You are in the clear, however, if you've been able to update your router in the last decade. Well, we are paying too much for rent around here. A recent report reveals that nearly half of Ohio's 1.58 million renters are paying more than they can afford on rent, with a shortage of 266,000 affordable rental units in the state. The data shows that 73% of extremely low-income renters in Ohio spend more than half of their income on rent. Ohio ranks 7th in the number of extremely low-income households, with Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Columbus facing shortages of affordable units. Well, many experts believe the housing market will stay competitive this year, which means buying a home in 2026 is going to require one key thing: preparation. In his Watching Your Wallet, consumer investigator Rachel DePompa helps you navigate the housing market.
Planning is key when buying a home, and it's never too early to start. Cherry Dale, the vice president of financial education at Virginia Credit Union, says when you're looking at what steps you need to take, she says there are 3 things you should really concentrate on.
You want to be in the higher 600s. Credit scores range from 300 to 850. A good place to start is 600 if you're trying to kind of rebuild that. Keep in mind it's risk-based, so the higher the credit score, hopefully the better rate and you would get on that loan.
Dale says then you want to look at your debt to income ratio, or DTI. She says lenders are looking at your credit card, car loan, and personal debt. So pull your credit report and then see how much of your monthly payments are going toward debt based upon your income.
If you're at 10%, that's a pretty good place actually. If you have no debt, that's a wonderful place to begin because you can afford more house. When you are getting to the point of getting that mortgage, you really want to stay under 40.
And finally, try to build up a down payment. Create a future home fund and automate your savings into that account. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Well, if you're a grandparent also playing the role of parent, you're struggling with a different kind of sandwich generation. Coming up, we will share a resource and solution to help with the strain that can be put on a multi-generational household. Welcome back to the Watchdog. I'm Jen Pachano, and right now we are going to talk to the Scam Squad members of our community. So ask the Scam Squad. We bring in members of the Scam Squad. It's a robust team of people out there fielding reports of fraud and helping victims who've been targeted or who have losses. So joining us today is Sammy Noctegal from the Federal Trade Commission. Thank you so much for being here, Sammy.
It's great to be here, Jen.
So rental scams, that is something that is really costly for people because not only does it cost them their money, but it may cost them where they're living, the roof over their head. What's happening with that in terms of what's coming across your desk?
Yeah, so the data that we're seeing of reports that come in from consumers that are affected by these rental scams, what's really interesting is that it's affecting younger folks, the 18 to 29 demographic.
Okay.
And it kind of makes sense. These are people who are looking for their first apartment, and they might not know what is normal when renting an apartment. What's the normal processes, or they're looking for a place to live for the summer after a college semester or something like that. And where they're looking are often the places where there are these fake rental postings like Facebook. We found in our data 50% of the reports come in say that they saw the fake rental listing on Facebook. 13% said that they were on Craigslist. And so we know where these are existing, and we know that young people are probably looking for their apartments.
That's why they're there. That's why the
places.
Scammers are there. That makes sense. So how does it work, Sammy? Is it basically somebody is posting a picture of a property they don't own or manage, and then they're collecting deposits and months of rent and things like that? How does this play out for these victims?
The scammers have a few different tactics that they take here. One is they take a real listing, but they make it, they take it themselves and they list it for an unbelievable great rate, great price, and they try to get people to apply, pay an application fee, pay first month's rent, but they never meet with you. They're not actually paying the actual company that's renting it out or the actual landlord, and they take your money and they disappear. Or they're creating fake listings out of whole cloth. That's really easy to do now with AI.
Yeah.
And then these fake listings, they look too good to be true. And then, of course, they are after you've paid or given personal information that they can then go around.
That's what I was going to ask you. It's not just a deposit or a month's rent. In these applications, you're providing a lot of personal information in a housing or a rental application.
Yeah, you're giving your social security numbers, your driver's license, lots of personal information, and they can turn around and steal your identity with that. So it's not just after you've paid that you've encountered a scam. It's if you've provided information and put yourself at risk of identity theft. We also want to hear about that as well at the FTC because that has also put you at risk.
Sure. So how can someone prevent themselves from falling for this? I mean, when you're talking about maybe a home for rent, it could it's not necessarily that, say I own a second home that I rent out. I don't have a website for that particular house necessarily. When you're talking about some of these maybe individual things as opposed to an apartment complex or a condo complex that would have a website and a management company, how do you know that this is real and, that you can trust it?
Yeah, so you have to do a little double checking on this, which if you're looking for apartment, you're looking at a lot of listings and stuff. And so taking a little extra time to double check that this listing is real could save you lots of money. So checking, is this listing posted elsewhere? And is that listing posted for a different price? If there's a price that's too good to be true, chances are that's a scam.
Sure.
Or if it's posted way down market rate compared to other properties in the area that are being listed for rent, that's also a red flag.
Kind of cross-referencing. That's a good point. If somebody's trying to lease out an apartment or a house, they're not going to go to one platform. Probably.
Right.
Most likely be more than one place. And there's, in the same way that when you're looking to buy a house, you look at the comps, the comparable rates around in the neighborhood and those same things. So those are good, red flags.
And the biggest red flag is if you are looking on that up that property and you see that actually it's listed for sale and not for rent. Ooh. That is the reddest flag here.
Is it really? Okay.
Yes,
Why?
absolutely.
I mean, couldn't somebody try to sell it, and if I can't, I'm going to rent it?
Well, likely how the scam works is then they can, it's this ready-made property. People can go in and see it, but it's actually it's for sale. There's no,
and they don't own it.
They don't own it,
right?
It's like they can kind of pretend that this is my property. It's not. So really be on the lookout for that. If you're trying to. I mean, maybe there's the situation that you're thinking of, where it's like, someone's trying to do either or, what can they do? It's a big country, it's a big area, maybe that's happening. Yeah. But I would be cautious of that. Okay. And also, if the landlord or seller, renter person is not going to meet with you before selling renting the property out to you, that's a big red flag.
For sure. Scammers
are going to, what we're also seeing, though, that's interesting in this is that now there are these types of virtual visits or...
especially if you're relocating, for instance. Or,
right. Or they allow you to, just go in enter in the keypad number and you can go visit the property yourself. And never interact with the scammer, the supposed landlord, right?
Yeah.
If you're never meeting face-to-face with who you're doing business with here to rent from, that can also be a real red flag.
Sure.
So, there are ways to, double check, verify, do a little research behind the property.
This is your home. You should be investing that kind of time in that for sure. Not to mention, your paycheck every month to make sure that you have a roof over your head. Yeah. Thank you so much, Sammy. Well, major changes are coming to student loan borrowing and repayment options. Consumer investigator Rachel DePompa explains what parents and students need to know in this Watching Your Wallet.
Parent Plus loans are one of the biggest changes that are happening in the student loan space this year. Robert Farrington, the founder of the College Investor, says starting July 1st of this year, parents can only borrow up to $20,000 per year or $65,000 in total for their child's education.
That's a big change compared to the current limits, which are uncapped up to the total cost of attendance. What's important to realize is that Parent Plus loans fill in a really hard place for kids to pay for college. So students can typically only borrow $5,500 to $7,500 themselves. And as we know, college costs way more than that.
Farrington says there are some worries these new caps on Parent Plus loans could prevent parents from helping their kids.
So along with the borrowing limits, the repayment plan options are changing, and Parent Plus loans will only have access to the standard repayment plan going forward. They will no longer have access to income-driven repayment plans, which also means that parents will no longer have access to loan forgiveness programs like public service loan forgiveness.
Farrington says it's going to drive a lot of families to private student loans, because Parent Plus loans now are basically equal to private loans, which means it really will come down to the interest rate. With this Watch in Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Well, for millions of grandparents across the country, their roles are changing. They find themselves not just a grandparent, but raising children again. In today's Aging Untold Extra, more on the push to give grand families support and solutions.
Starting all over, and I was a single grandparent raising 2 grandkids.
Sue Turner is now part of something known as a grand family after taking custody of her grandchildren to prevent them from entering foster care.
About a third of United States children are being raised by their grandparents, and that's got to be such a shock for so many of these grandparents to have a certain plan for their life and then all of a sudden they're doing this.
Aging Untold expert and coach Catherine Ambrose explains how those struggles come in many forms.
How to make the money stretch. But specifically on housing, we want to be concerned about aging in place, just smart, universal design, so that the home is safe not only for the children, but the grandparents as well. Only about 10% of homes across the country are minimally equipped for aging in place.
Oh, that's basketball.
Sue found a housing solution that's working for her grand family. She lives in Kansas City's Pemberton Park. Units are dedicated to grandparents raising their grandchildren. The rent is based on what the grandparent can afford, no more than 30% of their income.
We had a waiting list the day that we opened.
Ed Lowndes is the executive director of the Kansas City, Missouri Housing Authority. He says without this complex, finding housing that fits the needs of both generations isn't easy.
The focus still seems to be on either family or elderly, but not that combination. So we're very proud of what we have here.
All right, still to come on the Watchdog. Everybody needs a little help these days saving at the checkout and the pump, right? We have a few new apps you can use to help stretch your dollar further. Oil and gas prices are up, and that could soon drive up the cost of groceries, of course, too. Susan Campbell is showing us a few simple steps and clever apps that will help you save more.
Oil's been hovering close to $100 a barrel. Prices may feel a little bit out of control, but there are so many things you can do to stretch the budget and maximize savings.
Up and down the aisles at the grocery store, there are ways to save. First, create a menu for the week and stick to it to avoid food waste. Shop the sales to inspire you. For example, if potatoes are discounted this week, incorporate them into several meals. Potato corn chowder one day, mashed potatoes another day. Next, swap name brands for store brands. And shop in bulk when it makes sense. And only if it actually fits into your budget.
If you didn't budget that amount for groceries that month, now you're using a credit card to pay for that purchase. Maybe you're not paying it off in full if you have a revolving balance like many consumers do. Now you're paying interest on that purchase, which is going to take away any discount you got in the first place by buying in bulk.
Money-saving mom Andrea Warwick says there are several apps you can use to help you get the most savings, including Ibotta and Flip.
That's spelled with 2 P's. This will show you grocery circulars all in one place on your phone. So you can kind of flip through to see which one has the best deals for the groceries in your meal plan.
With the app Fetch, snap photos of your receipts to build up points for gift cards.
And that could be a great way to boost your budget, offset future costs.
Another app option, Upside, where you can claim cash back on food and gas purchases. For example, here's an offer at a Circle K in Phoenix for 33 cents per gallon cash back.
There's a trade-off when you use some of these apps. They are all collecting data about you. Just read the privacy policy before you download anything. I'm Susan Campbell.
All right, now to our recall roundup on the Watchdog. More grill brushes being recalled after nearly 70 users reported the bristles detaching. At least 5 of those consumers had to seek medical treatment to remove the bristles from their throat or digestive tract. More than 10 million Nexgrill metal wire grill brushes with black and wooden handles, so black plastic and wooden handles, were sold at Home Depot over the last 10 years. Their wire bristles can detach and stick to the grill or the food. So if you've got one, stop using it and contact Nexgrill for a full refund. Einstein Brothers is recalling 144 cases of honey almond cream cheese spread because it may contain undeclared almonds. It's really a labeling issue. The lid says honey almond, but the actual container says plain, and that may cause a dangerous confusion for somebody with a nut allergy. So if you have the mislabeled container, you can return it to Einstein Brothers for a refund. And the Consumer Product Safety Commission says Vive Health has recalled their adult portable bed rails sold on Amazon and the company's website. They say when these bed rails are attached to a bed, users can become trapped and they're at risk for suffocating. So users are advised to stop using these bed rails immediately, dispose of them, and contact Vive Health for a refund. Well, that's it for this episode of The Watchdog here on 19 News Plus. Every week we bring the latest scam alerts, fraud reports, recalls, and trending consumer news each Wednesday evening at 6:30 p.m. If you want to watch previous Scam Squad stories, you can find them on cleveland19.com under the News tab. I'm Jen Pachano. Thank you for watching.